Good evening and welcome back. Tonight, we are going to spend the night in a palace. Not a king's palace, an American one, which is its own kind of thing. And we are going to do it the way we always do. Slowly, quietly, with nothing to fear and nothing to solve. From the first lamp of the evening to the hour before dawn. It is a winter night in New York City. In the 1890s. In the age they will later call gilded, snow is falling on the avenue. The great stone houses stand shoulder to shoulder along the park, lit like ocean liners. And inside one of them, the one we have chosen, some 30 people are settling towards sleep, a family upstairs, in rooms of silk and walnut, a staff downstairs and in the attics, in rooms of iron bedsteads and scrubbed pine, who make the whole thing go. Tonight the house belongs to all of them, and for one night to us. No party tonight, no ball, no crisis, no famous names at dinner, just a great house on an ordinary snowy Tuesday, doing the thing it does best, which is keeping 60 rooms warm while the snow comes down. The housekeeping first, briefly. If these long, quiet nights are good to you, subscribing keeps them coming, and it genuinely helps this small channel. The player will hold your place if you drift off mid-corridor. That is all the business there is. The day is now closed. Here is the road ahead, so your mind can put the map away. We will come up the avenue in the snow and look at the house from the street. We will go down to the furnace and the kitchen, where the real power of the place lies, and sit through 2 suppers, the one above and the one below. We will visit the library fire, and the conservatory full of sleeping flowers, and the nursery at story time. We will follow the butler on his locking up rounds, and the last housemaid up the back stair, and we will watch every fire in the house banked for the night, one by one. Then the deep hours, the ticking clocks, the snow on the glass, the furnace holding its low red heart in the cellar, and at the very end, the first kitchen fire of the new morning. Nothing will go wrong, nobody will hurry, nothing is asked of you at all, and the permission, as always. You do not need to follow the tour. You do not need to remember the rooms. The words will walk on without you at the same slow pace. And if you slip away somewhere between the furnace and the nursery, that is not a failure to keep up. That is the whole idea. Sleep is the destination. The mansion is just the road. So, settle into the pillow. Let the bed take the whole weight of the day. It is falling dark on the avenue. The snow is thickening, and the lamps of the great houses are coming on, one tall window at a time. Let's go and look. The avenue at dusk in a snowstorm is one of the quiet wonders of this loud young city. The traffic has thinned to almost nothing. The snow has been falling since noon, fine and steady, and it has done what snow does to a city. It has turned the volume down. The great houses stand in a long stone rank along the park side, shaderocks and palazzos and fortresses of brownstone and limestone, each one trying politely to out-tower its neighbors. Their roofs are white now, their areaway railings wear 2 inches of soft ermine. The gas lamps down the avenue have come on, each one a golden globe with its own private snowstorm swirling inside the light, and between them the dusk is blue and thick. A hansom cab jingles past at a walk, the horse steaming, the driver a snow-shouldered statue. From a cross street far behind us, the rumble of an L train rises and fades. Somewhere behind us in the park, the last sleighs of the afternoon are chiming home. Our house stands at the corner, and it is worth standing in the snow a minute to take it in. It is built of pale limestone in the French manner, 5 stories if you count the servants' floor under the slate roof, which the family mostly does not. Turrets at the corners, a deep porte-cochere at the side, where carriages pull in out of the weather, tall windows in disciplined rows, and behind them, room by room, the evening lights are coming alive. Gas glow warm as butter in some windows, and in others the newer light, the steadier, whiter shine of electricity. Because this house, like the city, is living in two ages at once and paying the bills for both. Watch the windows a moment, because the house tells you it's evening through them. The tall second-floor windows glow softly, the family floor, lamps being lit against the dark. Below the sidewalk, through the areaway grills, comes a busier, yellower light. The kitchen going at full evening steam. High under the roof, one small window and then another lights up briefly and goes dark. Maids running up for something between tasks. The house is a vertical village, and its lights move the way a village do. The snow goes on falling past all of it, indifferent and gentle, softening the whole grand pile toward something almost sleepy. A footman opens the area gate below and takes in a last delivery. A boy with a basket, gone again into the blue. The lamplighter passes on his rounds with his long pole, touching the last globes alight one by one, and he salutes the house out of habit as he goes. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. That is our refrain tonight, and the house has not quite earned it yet, because nobody inside is asleep at all. But it is coming hour by hour, and you will hear the refrain again at every landing of the night, like a hand on the banister. Come in out of the snow. Not the front door. The front door is for the family and their callers. We know better. We will go down the area steps, where the warmth actually lives. Down the area steps, past the coal hole cover in the sidewalk, through the servant's door, and into another climate entirely. Above us is the marble world. This is the working one, and at this hour it is the warmest, busiest, most alive place in the entire building, and it smells wonderful. The basement of a great house is a small industrial town, laid out along one whitewashed corridor. The kitchen at the heart of it, glowing like a forge. The scullery beside it, all zinc and steam. The servants' hall, where the long table is already laid for the staff supper. The butler's pantry with its locked silver safe. The housekeeper's sitting room, the wine cellar, the cold larder, the boot room, the lamp room where a boy is trimming wicks at this moment among the smell of oil and brass polish. Doors and doors and doors, each one a trade. The population of this town is about 20 at this hour, and it moves with the practiced choreography of a ship's crew, which is what it is. Kitchen maids orbiting the cook, the footmen, tall by hiring policy, ferrying trays toward the dumbwaiter, a housemaid coming down the back stair with a scuttle, another going up with fresh towels, both at the half-trot that is the house's below stairs gate until 9 o'clock, and through it all walks the butler, unhurried by profession, in his evening black, with the day's last decisions following him like gulls after a ferry. Warmth is the great fact down here. The kitchen range never dies. The bakehouse oven holds its heat all night. The hot water boiler mutters behind its iron door, and the pipes that rise from it climb the whole house like a warm vine. Upstairs the warmth is a luxury, arranged in fireplaces, dressed in marble. Down here it is an industry, and this corridor is its mill floor, and everyone who works in the house comes down to it at day's end, the way you come to a hearth. Listen to the place. Range dampers clanking, a whisk going in a copper bowl, fast, then faster. The dumbwaiter, ropes creaking in the wall, the bell board on the corridor wall giving one soft jangle, the library bell, and a footman straightening his coat and vanishing upward. Laughter from the scullery, quickly hushed, then starting again lower. It is the sound of the last working hour of a long day, the downhill hour, when the end is in sight and the supper is nearly on. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. Down here is where the first half of that sentence is manufactured. We will spend a good part of our night below stairs, because this is where the house is honest. But first, up one flight, to see the world all this labor exists to hold up. Come up the back stair and through the baize door, the padded green door that divides the two worlds, and step out into the front hall and stand still a moment, because the change is total, and it is meant to be. Silence first. The working clatter vanishes behind the baize, as if a hand had been laid on the house's strings. Up here the evening sounds are a fire ticking in the hall grate, the tall clock counting to itself under the stairs, and somewhere above, faint, a piano being played gently and well. The light is low and golden. The air smells of beeswax, hothouse flowers, wood smoke, and money. The hall itself is a room the size of a chapel, paneled in carved oak, floored in marble with a great soft rug over it, a fireplace you could stand in, a staircase made for descending slowly in a gown, curving up into the shadows of the floors above. On the walls, paintings in heavy gold frames, dim old landscapes, and one stern ancestor who is not, strictly speaking, an ancestor, having been purchased in London along with the paneling. The flowers on the hall table were grown under this house's own glass, and changed this morning, and will be changed again tomorrow, snow or no snow. The geography of the family floors is simple once you hold the key. The first floor up is for show. The drawing rooms, the dining room, the ballroom shuttered and dark tonight, the library. Above that, the family's own floor, bedrooms and boudoirs, and the nursery wing. Above that, guest rooms, quiet as museums tonight. And above that, invisible, reached only by the back stair, the attic floor where the maids sleep to a room under the slates. 60 rooms, more or less. 14 fireplaces alight tonight. One family of 5. One staff of 20-odd. One house holding all of it up out of the snow. Through the drawing room doors, half open, you can see the evening assembling itself. Lamps lit, fire high. The mother of the house at her writing desk finishing the day's notes before dinner. 2 children are being herded upstairs from their supper by a nursemaid, resisting on principle, exactly as sleepily as children have resisted it in every age of the world. The eldest daughter is at the piano. The father is not home yet. His carriage is due from downtown at any minute, and the footman in the hall is listening for it through the snow hush, the way footmen have listened for wheels, since wheels began. There it is now, the muffled ring of hooves under the porte-cochere, the stamp, the door, cold air and a snowy overcoat, and the day's last arrival home. The hall receives him, warmth and light and flowers, and closes behind him like water. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. Everyone is now at least inside. The snow can have the avenue. Before the suppers, one more descent, the deepest one, because the true heart of this house in winter is not the marble hall and not even the kitchen. It is a red iron heart in the cellar, and it beats about once every 4 hours, when a man named the furnace man opens its door and feeds it. Down below the basement proper, down a last set of stone steps, the cellar runs off into the dark under the whole footprint of the house, whitewashed, cool at the edges, warm at the middle. Here is the coal cellar, holding tons upon tons, delivered down the sidewalk chute by wagon, a black glittering dune of it. The house is winter in stored form, exactly as the woodpile was the winter in a bone house and a lodge, only vaster, because this house is vaster and hungrier. And here in the middle of the cellar, brick-footed, iron-bodied, wrapped in its great octopus of ducts and pipes, sits the furnace. It is a hot-air giant, and its business is simple and enormous. Coal burns in its firebox, Air warms in its iron jacket, and the warmed air rises through those ducts to brass registers in the floors and walls of the rooms above, breathing gently up into the marble world through grills the housemaids polish. Alongside it works its partner, the boiler, which sends hot water climbing to the bathrooms and radiators. Between them, these two iron servants do what 400 servants with firewood did in the palaces of the old world, and do it without complaint, on about a barrow of coal a day in this weather. The furnace man is with it now, making the evening call. He is an old hand, cellar pale, deliberate, and he tends the giant the way the fire-keepers of all our other nights tended theirs, by ear and eye and long acquaintance. He swings the fire door, and the red glare fills the cellar and paints him copper. He reads the fire bed, rakes the clinker, feeds fresh coal in an even dark blanket, sets the dampers with two small precise movements, and stands a moment listening to the draft draw, the deep steady organ note of a chimney doing its work. Then the door clangs to, and the cellar is dim again, and the giant goes back to its slow red chewing. All night the house will lean on what he just did. Warm air will keep whispering from the registers, while the family sleeps. The pipes will keep their low warmth threading up through the walls, past sleeping maids, past sleeping children. Deep in the night, he will come down once more in his slippers and bank the fire for the small hours. And that banking is the same act, exactly the same act, as the ash drawn over the coals of every fire we have ever watched kept, only performed on iron at industrial scale in a cellar in Manhattan. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. The first half of the refrain lives right here, in the red heart and the black dune, and the old man's two precise movements at the dampers. Now upstairs, there are two suppers tonight, and both of them smell ready. The kitchen an hour before dinner is the engine room at full ahead, and it deserves a chapter at its glowing peak, because nothing else in the house, and honestly not much else in the city, is so completely good at what it does. The room is high, white-tiled and hot. Down its center runs the great scrubbed table, worn to a landscape of soft hollows by years of knives and elbows. Along one wall stands the range, the black iron sovereign of the basement, 10 feet of it, its fireboxes drawing hard, its ovens ticking, its hot plates ranked with copper pots in sizes from thimble to cauldron. The copper is the room's treasure and its pride, 100 pieces burnished to rose gold, hanging in ranks by size on the wall, each stamped with the house's initial. And the kitchen maids keep it bright enough to check a cap in, because the cook can see her whole kingdom reflected in it, and does. The cook herself commands from the range end of the table, stout, quick, entirely calm in the way of experts at their busiest hour. Dinner tonight is family only, which below stairs means merely 6 courses instead of 10. Clear soup is already whispering in its pot. A pair of ducks turn brown and glossy in the roasting oven. A fish waits under a cloth. A pudding steams. Sauces, 2 of them, hold at the exact edge of a simmer, while a kitchen maid stirs each in turn, 1 whisk in each hand at the moment. A small circus act nobody remarks on. The cook tastes, considers, adds 3 drops of something from a bottle only she is allowed to touch, tastes again and nods. And the nod travels around the kitchen like a change in the weather. All's well. Everything moves and nothing collides. That is the beauty of a great kitchen at the push. The same beauty we saw in a monastery bakehouse and a castle kitchen, and a cook tent on the plains. Choreography born of repetition, every hand knowing its next 3 moves. The scullery maid, youngest of the whole crew, 14 and new this autumn, ferries pans to her steaming sinks in a rhythm she has finally, this month, stopped having to think about. The kitchen maids wheel from table to range like gulls working a wake, and through the middle of it, the still room maid passes untouched with her tray of tomorrow's jellies, protected by an invisible right-of-way that everyone honors at a half-step's cost, and nobody has ever had to speak aloud. Smell it, because there is nothing else like a great house kitchen at 7 on a snowy night. Roasting duck and clear broth, hot copper and coal, bread from the afternoon's bake cooling in the pantry, vanilla and wine and lemon peel. Underneath it all the clean scalded smell of the scullery, and over it all, faintly, snow, sifting cold and mineral through the high area windows, making the warmth warmer. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. 60 rooms above have no idea, most of them, that this glowing engine even exists. It is 9 steps below their dining chairs, feeding them every single night of their lives. At 8, the gong sounds softly in the hall, and the family dines, and we may stand at the sideboard and watch, because a family dinner in this house is a small formal ballet performed nightly, whether anyone is watching or not. The dining room is walnut and crimson, lit by candles and the low gas sconces together. The table laid for 5 with the second best porcelain, which would be the first best of almost any other house in the country. Silver from the safe, crystal in ranks, hothouse grapes on the Epergne. The father at one end, the mother at the other. The eldest daughter and the 2 younger children ranged between, scrubbed and combed, and lectured into their chairs. The smallest one already visibly calculating how much dinner stands between him and dessert. The butler serves the wine and directs. 2 footmen work the courses in from the dumbwaiter with white-gloved unhurry, soup, fish. The ducks carved at the sideboard, each plate arriving over the diner's shoulder as silently as weather. The service is a craft of invisibility. The perfect footman, the butler has told his juniors many times, is furniture that anticipates, and tonight the furniture anticipates well, and the only sounds are silver on china, the fire, and the family's own easy evening talk. And the talk is any family's talk, which is the thing worth carrying away from this room. The father, it emerges between courses, spent his afternoon downtown being disagreed with by men he pays to disagree with him, and is mending nicely under the influence of duck. The mother is engineering the guest list of a dinner 2 weeks off, aloud, partly to herself. The daughter is negotiating, with the patience of a diplomat, the question of a concert on Thursday. The middle child reports at length on the snow fort rising in the park. The smallest is silent, but his duck vanishes with a speed that speaks for him. Take away the footmen and the crystal, and it is supper in a tippy, supper by a bone house fire, supper anywhere. The family knitting up its day at the day's end over food, the oldest ceremony we keep, dressed tonight in candlelight and crimson. Below, meanwhile, in the servants' hall, the other dinner is underway at the long table, 20 places, the butler carving at his end when he can sit, the housekeeper pouring at hers, hierarchy observed in the seating down to the scullery made at the foot, and the food plentiful and plain and hot, and the talk considerably louder than the talk upstairs, and by every honest measure the merrier room of the 2. 1 house, 2 dinners, 60 feet apart, joined by a dumbwaiter and a bell wire. That is the whole social order of this age, in one building. And tonight, with the snow coming down and both fires high, both tables are, at minimum, warm, fed, and inclined toward evening peace. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. Both halls are doing their part now, fork by fork. After dinner, the family scatters to its evening stations, and the best of those stations, by the unanimous silent vote of everyone in the house, including the dog, is the library. So that is where we will settle first. It is a deep brown room at the quiet corner of the house, 2 stories of books behind glass and brass grills, a gallery with a spiral stair, globes, deep chairs, and a fireplace of carved stone where a wood fire, the only wood fire in this coal-fed house, is burning applewood from the family's own place up the Hudson, because the father permits himself exactly this one sentimentality and guards it like a vault. He is in his chair beside it now, in the lamplight reading, not the financial papers, those died with the port, an expedition narrative, polar, the kind of book this age produces by the shelf foot, men and dogs and pack ice, and he reads it the way tired, successful men read adventure, entirely content that it is happening to someone else. The dog, a setter with the run of the good rooms, lies against the fender at full length, twitching lightly through some expedition of his own. The fire ticks and settles. The clock on the mantel does its small work. Snow touches the tall dark windows with a sound just below sound. The eldest daughter has the other lamp and the other chair, with a novel, and reads with her feet tucked up in a posture her grandmother fought for years and lost. And for a long while the library holds just this: 2 readers, 1 dog, 1 fire, 4,000 books standing patient in the shadows, and the snow coming down outside over the whole city, over the park, over the frozen reservoir, over the lit avenue, all of it present in the room only as silence. The books deserve one slow look around before we go. They were bought by the yard, some of them, when the house was new, calf bindings chosen to furnish. But the father turned reader in this room somewhat to his own surprise, and the daughter was born one. Histories, voyages, the poets, the new novels, atlases of countries that keep changing their names. On the highest gallery shelf, out of casual reach, the 2 precious things, and on the desk under glass, the founder's treasure, a small worn account book from a Connecticut dry goods store, 70 years old, the seed of everything, kept where the marble and the Rembrandt candidates can all see it. At 11, the daughter surrenders, marks her page with a ribbon, banks a kiss on her father's forehead in passing, and goes up. The father reads one more chapter, the way fathers do, and one more after that, the way readers do. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. The library will be the last room awake tonight, and knows it, and takes a certain brown leathery pride in the office. At the back of the house, joined to it by a glazed corridor, stands the conservatory, and stepping into it on a snowy night is the best conjuring trick the whole mansion can perform. So let us perform it quietly on our way through the evening. Open the door and walk from winter into a soft green June. The air changes at the threshold, warm, heavy, damp, breathing of earth and leaves and vanilla. Overhead, a vaulted roof of glass and white iron, and on it tonight the snow, falling and settling and sliding in slow sheets, so that the whole ceiling is a dim moving whiteness, lit faintly from below by the corridor lamps, and under that white roof, a garden asleep, palms standing patient in their tubs, ferns banked deep along the stone paths, camellias holding their cool porcelain flowers in the half-dark, orchids ranked on the staging like sleeping butterflies, a little stone pool, where goldfish hang dreaming under the lily pads, and the only sound in the whole glass room is water, dripping somewhere gently, counting the night to itself. The trick is done with iron and coal, of course, like everything in this house. Under the slatted floors run the heating pipes, the same hot water that warms the bathrooms threading out here to hold June steady, while the thermometer on the glass reads winter. A gardener came at dusk, as he comes every winter evening, to read that thermometer, ease 2 vents, and walk the paths once with his lantern, and he will come again before 6 to stoke the small auxiliary boiler if the night turns bitter. Between his visits the glass garden keeps itself, breathing slowly, condensing its warm breath on the cold panes, growing imperceptibly all night in the middle of the snow. The family uses this room by day, the mother most of all, who does her letters here on winter mornings among the ferns. But at night it belongs to nobody, and that is when it is finest, a palace of glass, full of sleeping green, snow 2 inches over its head, June in its bones, utterly quiet except for the water drip and the occasional soft whump of a snow sheet letting go down the outside of the glass. The flowers on tomorrow's hall table are budding somewhere in this dimness right now. The grapes for Sunday hang in the cool vinery beyond the arch. Every green thing in here is both entirely ornamental and entirely alive, wintering like everything else in this city, only better housed than most. We will leave the door ajar a moment longer than we need to, for the pleasure of feeling June and January lean against each other across a doorsill. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and some of what it keeps warm has roots, and sleeps standing under glass, under snow, dreaming whatever gardens dream. Up on the family floor, at the quiet end of the corridor, behind a door with a brass gate latch set too high for small hands, the nursery is coming to the best part of its day, and we know this hour well by now, you and I. We have kept it in a bone house and a lodge. It is bath and bread and milk and story, and it runs on rails as old as our kind. The nursery is its own small country, 3 rooms, day nursery, night nursery, and the nurse's own room between. The day nursery is warm and worn and bright. A fire behind a tall brass guard, a rocking horse with real horsehair going gray at the mane, a shelf of picture books, a fort of blocks in the corner under standing orders not to be touched by housemaids on pain of tears. The night nursery beyond is dim and ready, 2 small beds and a crib, covers turned down, a night light in a saucer waiting for its match. The bath has already happened, with the usual naval engagement over ears. Bread and warm milk have gone down by the fire, out of the nursery's own china, which is older and more loved than anything in the cabinets downstairs. And now the 3 of them are stacked and folded into the big chair with the nurse for the story, the 8-year-old pretending she is too old for the arrangement from a position deep inside it, the 5-year-old mid-yawn, the baby, already boneless against the nurse's shoulder, holding one of her buttons in his fist by way of an anchor. The nurse reads slow and low, an old fairy story off the shelf, and she reads it the way the grandmothers of all our other nights told theirs, with the pauses in their inherited places, letting the fire do the illustrations on the ceiling. She has ruled this floor through 2 families and knows precisely which page of this particular story is the far edge of the 5-year-old's evening, and she is 2 pages from it now, and slowing accordingly, easing the story down like a boat coming to a mooring. Listen at the door with me. The fire small and guarded, the rocking of the chair slower, the voice lower, rounder, the sentences beginning to loop and repeat their softest words. A city child's lullaby hour in the age of iron and gold. And it is made, you will notice, of exactly nothing the age invented. A fire, a lamp, a story, a button to hold. The oldest equipment there is. The story lands. The pages stop. One by one, the 3 are ferried the short voyage to the night nursery, limp as laundry, and are lowered in and covered over. And the night light is lit in its saucer, a small steady pedal, the direct descendant of a stone lamp in an Ice Age wall niche, doing the same work in the same darkness for the same small sleepers. The nurse sits on in the fire glow a while, listening to the breathing settle, as her profession has listened since it began. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. On this corridor, at least, the refrain has come fully true. 3 sleepers early, the advance party of the night. While the evening runs on downstairs, step for a quiet minute into the picture gallery, the long room on the show floor where the lamps are already lowered, because the house keeps one whole room for things that only stand and look back. And at night that room comes into its own. The gallery runs the depth of the house, toplit by day through a laylight of frosted glass, hung 2 and 3 deep in the grand manner. The family bought most of it in a decade. The way this age buys, whole schools and centuries at a time, agents in Paris and London bidding on cable instructions, Dutch rivers under Dutch clouds, a Venetian regatta gone golden with varnish, English ancestors of other families, purchased ancestors, dignified in their borrowed permanence, French moderns the mother chose herself against advice, orchards and railway bridges in loose bright paint the father has learned not to comment on, and at the room's far end, the pride, a small dark northern portrait of a woman in a linen cap, her face lit from a window 400 years shut, about whom the dealers use their most careful voices. By day the gallery is a statement. At night it is better, it is a population. Walk it now in the low gas, and the pictures keep their 60 small worlds burning at half-wick along both walls, rivers still flowing, regatta still mid-stroke, the woman in the cap still turning forever toward her extinguished window. Paint does not sleep exactly, but it keeps still magnificently, and 4 centuries of kept stillness make the silence of this one snowy Tuesday feel brief and light. A single flake landing on a deep drift. The maids dust the frames by rota and have their private favorites, and their votes, it may comfort the moderns to know, go mostly to the orchards. The children are marched through on Sundays and prefer the regatta, for its dog in the bow of the third boat, which 400 years of connoisseurship somehow failed to notice, and one 5-year-old found in a morning. The father comes in alone sometimes, late, with a candle to look at the woman in the cap, and says nothing to anyone about what he is looking for. And this age of iron and gold is full of such men standing quietly in front of such faces, buying, perhaps, the one thing the money insists it cannot get, which is time, already survived, holding still in oil. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and the gallery neither sleeps nor wakes, but keeps its 60 worlds at half-wick through the night, patient as varnish, older than the fortune, and entirely unimpressed by the snow. Beyond the gallery, behind double doors kept locked, lies the largest room in the house, and it is doing tonight the thing it does 300 nights of the year, which is nothing at all, splendidly, and a sleeping ballroom on a snowy night is worth turning the key for. The butler's key lets us in. The room stands in shuttered darkness the size of a skating pond, parquet gleaming faintly where the corridor light finds it, 60 feet of mirrors, sleeping along one wall under Holland covers, the great chandeliers overhead bagged in muslin like winter beehives, gilt chairs stacked and sheeted in the corners, the musician's balcony a shadow above the shadows, cold too, relative to the living rooms, its many fireplaces swept and dark, the radiators here turned to a maintenance whisper, because heat, like everything in this well-run house, is spent where it is needed and banked where it is not. 3 weeks ago tonight, this room held 400 people and a hired orchestra, 10,000 candles worth of light, gas and electricity and beeswax all blazing together, hothouse roses by the sleigh load, the mirrors doubling the whole golden spin of it, and the sound of it reached the avenue through the shut shutters, as a warm blur that stopped late walkers on the pavement. The age will be remembered for those nights, painted and gossiped and moralized over, and fairly enough. But the room itself, if you ask it now in the dark, holds the ball lightly. One night in 100, a bright coin in a long ledger of quiet, because this is the actual life of a ballroom, and there is something restful in learning it. Muslin and holland, shutter bars and stacked chairs, the parquet breathing its wax in the dark, the mirrors sleeping face to face with nothing, reflecting darkness into darkness without complaint, month after patient month. The room is not waiting, any more than the summer boats wait under their winter tarpaulins up the Hudson. It is simply keeping, the way the good silver keeps in its iron wardrobe, the way the year's brightness is kept folded inside the year's quiet, which is, as every world we have wintered in knew by heart, the true proportion of things. Mostly quiet, brightness at intervals, both kept well. Somewhere under the muslin, a chandelier luster finds a thread of corridor light, and hangs one small star in the dark pond of the room. And that is the ballroom's whole activity for tonight, and it is enough. We lock the doors again softly. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And its grandest room sleeps longest and deepest of all, under muslin, holding last season's music the way snow holds footprints faintly and without regret. Between the bedrooms on the family floor, there is a door that would have stopped any ancestor of this family dead in their tracks with wonder. And because we have hauled water in every century we have kept together, you and I, we owe this room a pilgrim's visit. It is the bathroom, and it is new, and it is a miracle. And the household has already, in the human way, entirely stopped noticing it. The room is marble and mahogany and nickel, warm as toast off the hall radiator's branch. The tub is porcelain, long enough to float in, cased in polished wood like a yacht's fitting. The washstand is marble with a beveled glass, and over tub and basin stand the taps, nickel-bright 2 and 2, and the left-hand ones say what they say, cast right into the metal, the most quietly astonishing word in the whole house. Hot. Turn it and count what answers. Down in the cellar, the boiler's fire, banked and tended by the furnace man we have already met, the heated water rising by its own lightness up the risers, floor after floor, waiting behind the walls at this exact spigot, day and night, winter and summer. Turn the tap and it arrives, steaming, instant, endless, and no one carried it. No one carried it. Every world we have wintered in would need that sentence said twice. The Ice Age family melted snow by the potful, stone-boiled precious. The castle hauled its bath water up the stairs in cans, boy after boy. And the great lady's tub was an event of state. The mansion's own grandmother, due at Christmas, was raised with a hip bath by a bedroom fire and a housemaid's aching arms. And when she wants her bath hot now, she turns a piece of nickel a quarter circle, and is not impressed, because the miracle is 2 years old, and habit eats miracles for breakfast. The children, it should be recorded, are still honest about it. The 5-year-old regards the hot tap as a personal friend, and has been removed from long conferences with it. And the scullery maid, who scours pans in the basement all day in water she must still ladle from the range's boiler, climbed once on an errand into this room's doorway, and looked at the marble and the nickel and the cast word hot, and said nothing then, and has thought about it since, more than anyone else under this roof, which is the way of miracles and always has been. They are seen clearest from one floor below. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and behind the walls the hot water stands patient in its risers all night, A bath's worth, a kettle's worth, a century's worth, waiting on a quarter turn of nickel. There is one more modern ghost in this house, and it is the quietest tenant of all. So let us meet it while the evening winds down, because it will inherit everything. And tonight, in the 1890s, it is still small enough to live in a closet under the stairs. The telephone hangs there, oak-boxed, brass-belled, its black earpiece on its hook, its speaking trumpet at attention, connected by a wire that leaves the house discreetly at the area, and climbs to join the great looms of wire that this city is weaving over its streets. Fewer threads hang overhead than a few winters back, the great blizzard having driven whole harvests of wire underground, but those that remain are snow-laden tonight, humming their thin Aeolian note in the wind off the park. The instrument is used solemnly and briefly, mostly by the father to his office and the butler to the fishmonger, both parties still half shouting in the new etiquette nobody has settled, and the mother maintains a card of numbers in a hand normally reserved for wedding lists. There are perhaps 9,000 telephones on this whole island tonight. The family is quietly proud of theirs and finds it faintly ridiculous, in the exact proportion every household finds every future. And the telephone is only the loudest of the wires. The father's study holds the stock ticker under its glass bell, silent now, its mile of tape spent for the day, the little machine that spells the market letter by letter having gone down at 3 with the exchange, and sleeping now like a caged songbird under its cloth. Messenger call boxes, burglar alarm wire on the show floor shutters, the electric bells we have heard all evening, the new light itself. The walls of this house look like walnut and damask. They are already threaded through with the coming century, copper nerve by copper nerve, and the household lives inside the weave mostly unaware, as households do. Stand at the closet under the stairs a moment, in the dark, and consider the sleeping instrument kindly. Within the lifetime of the baby in the nursery above, its descendants will carry every voice on earth to every other, and the looms of wire will thicken, and then vanish underground, and then vanish altogether into the air, and the miracle will be eaten by habit 100 times over, and none of it, not one single call of it, will do anything more marvelous than what the wires already do tonight, which is to let one human being say to another, across a snowstorm, across a city, I am here. You are there. Good night. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and under the stairs the future hangs on its hook in the dark, brass-belled, patient, no bigger yet than a bread box resting up. One last door below stairs stands ajar for us tonight, because the butler, on his round, will visit it twice, and what he guards there is the house's most patient inventory, and its most fragrant. The wine cellar, under the sidewalk vaults, coolest and stillest room in all the 60. Down 3 worn steps under a low brick vault, the bins run away into candle shadow, diamond racks and stone shelves, and in them the bottles lie on their sides in their thousands, necks outward, foil and wax and cellar dust, each rank ticketed in the butler's copperplate. Clarets from farms in France laid down the year the eldest daughter was born, coming due now, checked on like relatives. Burgundies treated by everyone concerned as slightly holy. Ports from before the house existed, bought at the auctions of finished estates, bins of them, sleeping their 3rd human generation through. Champagne in dark ranks for the next ball. Madeira that crossed the equator twice, in a ship's hold a lifetime ago, because motion and heat, which ruin most wine, happen to make that one immortal. A fact the butler produces at long intervals like a coin from behind an ear. The cellar's climate is the whole art. Cool but never freezing, dark but for the visiting candle, still but for the faint street rumble in the vault brick, damp enough to keep the corks sound. The temperature has not varied 5 degrees in 20 years, which is to say this brick room under a Manhattan sidewalk keeps, by masonry alone, the exact eternal autumn of a cave in France. And the bottles believe it and go on with their slow, secret work accordingly. Tannins softening, sugars deepening, time itself being converted, drop by drop, into something that can be poured. The butler holds the only key and the whole living map of it in his head. Every bin, every vintage, what is ready, what is sleeping, what must on no account be touched for a decade. He is not a drinking man, particularly. His feeling for the cellar is the feeling of the archivist and the shepherd. And on quiet evenings he comes down with his candle not to fetch anything, but to walk the ranks once, as we walk them now, past the patient thousands. Each bottle a sealed year, a bottled autumn, a buried sun, waiting its turn at a table upstairs some evening yet unscheduled. Some celebration not yet earned, some winter night of a year that does not exist. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And under the sidewalk, the deepest sleepers of all lie ranked in the dark, dreaming in decades, the only members of the household for whom the night is not even long. Let us win the evening back an hour or two, to the early dark. For one small ceremony we walked past on our way to grander rooms. Twice already today the postman climbed the front steps, and then at dusk came the last delivery of the evening. And the small ceremony of the letters is worth its chapter, because in this decade, in this city, the mail is a marvel running at full flower, and this house lives by it more than it knows. The letters come through the door in a soft sheaf, and the footman carries them in on the hall salver for sorting, which is the butler's privilege at the hall table, performed with the deliberation of a man dealing important cards, invitations, thick and square engraved, for the mother, who will answer everyone before Friday by iron law of her own. A letter from the father's brother in San Francisco, 5 days in transit across the whole width of the continent, which strikes nobody present as remarkable, though it would have struck every generation before theirs entirely dumb. The dressmaker's card, a bill or two, directed below stairs, a journal in its wrapper, and for the daughter, in a hand the butler pretends not to recognize and catalogues precisely. A letter with a Boston postmark that will go up on the tray with a face of perfect professional blankness. The city's post at this hour is one of its quiet wonders. Mail moves through this town up to 5 deliveries a day in the business wards, carried by an army in gray, sorted through the night in the great marble post office downtown, hauled to the trains, flung west in rolling postcars where clerks sort letters at 40 miles an hour through the dark. This night, every night, a river of paper in constant motion across the entire republic. A letter posted on this avenue by 10 tonight is in Chicago in 2 mornings. People write accordingly, daily, sometimes twice daily, small fat letters of no news whatever, the telephone being as yet too public and too strange for the heart's ordinary traffic. The age runs on ink, and so the hour before dinner above stairs was inked as well. The mother at her boudoir desk, answering, her pen making its steady silk-on paper sound, seal wax and the little flame. The daughter upstairs with Boston open on her knees, reading it the 3rd time, which is the correct number. The father with his brother's letter and a cigar, hearing a voice in the phrasing he has not heard aloud in 2 years, minds and weather and a joke from their boyhood, folded into 5 days' distance. Nobody in this house tonight would call any of it a technology. It is only the mail. It is only the entire far-flung heart of the age, arriving warm twice a day, on foot, in gray wool up the front steps, through the brass slot into the lamplight. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps or soon will. And tonight 3 of them will sleep a little differently for what the last post carried up the snowy steps, which is all the mail has ever been for. As the evening deepens, take one slow tour of the house's light, because this house is lit by 3 different centuries at once, and the seams between them, visible in every corridor tonight, are one of the quiet wonders of the age. The oldest century burns in the candles. They still hold the dinner table by choice, because candlelight is what silver and crystal and faces were designed for, and no one has improved on it. And this family can afford the past. Candles wait in the ballroom chandeliers for the next great night. Candles stand in bedroom candlesticks on the upstairs landing table, ranked and ready, because some of the older habits of going to bed have outlived the need for them. The 2nd century hisses softly in the walls. Gas, piped under the streets from the great works by the river, rises through the house's own veins to sconces and pendants in every room, lit at dusk by parlour-made rounds, wick by wick, with a taper. Gaslight is the city's evening voice, warm, faintly alive, breathing its small mineral breath, and most of the house still runs on it, turned low now in the rooms where the evening is ending, little blue-gold buds of flame dozing in their etched glass. And the 3rd century is the new one, the wires. 2 years ago the house was electrified, discreetly, expensively. The wires fished through walls that were never asked permission. Now the library, the dining room, and the main halls carry the incandescent bulbs in their old gas fixtures. Converted, both systems side by side, belt and suspenders, because the family, like the whole city, does not yet fully trust the miracle. The new light is steady, in a way no flame has ever been. It does not breathe. The housemaids are still divided about it. The father points out that it cannot burn the house down while everyone sleeps, and the cook points out that neither can a properly managed lamp. And there the debate rests, as it rests in 100,000 houses this winter, while the wires creep street by street across the world. The butler, on his evening round, walks all 3 centuries in 10 minutes. He turns a brass switch and the library goes dark with a click, instant, total, still slightly uncanny. He turns down the hall gas to a supper flame. He checks the candle store by feel. 3 technologies of light. 1 practiced hand. 1 ordinary Tuesday in the exact hinge years, when the old warm flames began handing the night over to the steady, cold, bright future. And nobody at the time thought it worth writing down. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps under wick and mantle and filament together, all 3 burning low now, all 3 sliding toward dark. At 11:30, with the family gone up and the staff supper long cleared, the butler makes the locking up round, and this round is the mansion's own version of a rite we have watched in every one of our nights. The closing of the house, performed here with keys instead of door hides, but with the very same meaning. He starts at the front door, which the last footman has already bolted, and he tries it anyway, because trying it himself is the point. Then the tall windows of the drawing rooms, catch by catch, moving through the dim rooms with his small lamp, past furniture sleeping under its own shadows. The shutters are folded across and barred. The ballroom doors, locked these 3 weeks, are tried on principle. The conservatory door checked, its warm green breath on his face for a moment, its snow-light ceiling glimmering. Down the back stairs, the area door, the tradesman's door, the coal hole covers inside catch, the wine cellar, twice on the wine cellar, this being a professional intimacy, and the silver safe in his own pantry, The great iron wardrobe whose key does not leave his ring, opened once for a look at the ranked and counted glimmer inside, and shut on it and spun. He is a man of 55 who has locked up great houses for 30 years, and he does it the way the Lakota mother made her night round of the lodge, the way the Ice Age mother touched the grinding stone and the door frame, the way the monastery circator walked the dark cloister, not anxiously, ceremonially. Each turned key is a small question, and each lock answers the same way. Here, sound, shut. The house replies to his hand all evening long, but the night replies are the ones he sleeps on, and the ring of keys at his belt is the exact equivalent of the tally stick and the winter count. The whole house summarized in worn brass. His last stop is the bell board in the basement corridor, silent now, all its little coiled springs at rest. The house's nervous system gone quiet for the night. He looks at it the way a station master looks at a cleared track, turns the corridor gas to a blue bead, and carries his lamp to his own room beside the pantry, where the silver sleeps within earshot, which is not an accident of architecture. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. The doors are locked on the warmth now. The night outside may own the avenue. It has no key to hear. With the house locked, listen. The talking is done, the pianos are closed, the bells are still, and what is left is the sound that has been underneath all evening, patient as floor joists. The clocks. This house keeps perhaps 30 of them, and at night they own the place, and their ownership is worth one soft chapter. The patriarch stands in the front hall, 9 feet of English oak and brass, older than the house, older than the family's money, bought at auction with its own history folded inside it like letters in a desk. Its pendulum swings a slow full second each way. Its tick is a deep wooden talk, unhurried, magisterial, and its chime at the hours is a bronze phrase that rolls up the stairwell and along the corridors to every floor, softened by distance into something the sleepers hear only as a familiar shape in the dark. It is the house's heartbeat, elected unanimously and long ago. Around it the parish, the library mantel clock, French, gilt, quick and light, always half a minute eager. The dining room's marble one, solemn as a magistrate. The mother's boudoir clock, porcelain, painted with impossible shepherdesses, whose tick is nearly a whisper. The kitchen's big honest wall clock, greasy at the rim, the only clock in the house that anyone actually obeys. The nursery's little Swiss clock with the painted birds, wound with its own small key, keeper of bath and bedtime, and the servants' hall clock, argued with daily, set 5 minutes fast by a housekeeper who has never admitted it in 20 years and never will. Every Sunday evening a man comes from the jeweler's to wind and regulate the principal clocks, a specialist calling on patience, felt bag of keys, held breath, small adjustings. But between his visits the clocks simply run, and at night with the house silent, you can walk the dark floors and hear them all at once, near and far, quick and slow, a whole quiet parliament of ticking, out of step and in agreement, counting the same night at 30 different tempos. The sound is old-fashioned even now, in the age of the wires. It will one day be nearly extinct, and people your age will pay money to sleep near a ticking clock again without quite knowing why. But you know why. It is a heartbeat. It is the sound of something faithful, awake so you need not be, spending the night in even coins. Each tick a small proof that the last second was survived and the next is on its way. The whole house is full of that proof tonight, talking gently to itself in the dark. And notice, before we leave them to it, that the clocks are the house's one democracy of sound. The gas burns brighter on the show floors than in the attic. The fires are larger below the second floor than above it, but the hall clock's chime climbs to every pillow in the building at the same soft volume. Cook and master, nurse and baby. And the little clocks tick as faithfully on a maid's pine chest as on a marble mantle. Time in this house of careful rankings is the one commodity issued equally, hour by bronze hour, to every sleeper under the slates. The old woman with the mammoth ivory tally would have understood the hall clock at once, and it would have understood her. Keepers of the count, both of them, keeping it for everyone in the dark. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And the clocks keep the third thing, the time, holding it steady through the small hours like a rail down a dark stair. Behind the mansion, across the snowy yard, the stable block keeps its own separate warmth, and no night tour of this establishment could skip it, because the man who rules it would be wounded, and because it smells better than anywhere else on the property and always has. The stable is brick, gaslit, warmer than half the bedrooms in the city. 8 stalls, 6 of them lived in. The carriage horses, 2 matched bays with white socks, aristocrats and aware of it. The father's saddle horse, the mother's quiet pair for the park Bruffham, and the pony, the children's stout brown pony, who is by now less a horse than a junior member of the family with opinions on apples. They stand in deep golden straw, blanketed in the house colors, hay racks filled for the night, and the gaslight lies soft on their round haunches and on the harness room wall beyond, where the leather hangs ranked and gleaming like a regimental museum. The coachman lives above with his family, and his lamp is lit up there now. But he is down here at this hour, as he is every night at this hour, making the last round in his shirt sleeves with a lantern, though the gas is lit, because his father made this round with a lantern, and the habit is the habit. He goes stall to stall, a hand on each warm rump, a word for each. He checks the pony's water, checks the bay's legs, checks the bar on the yard door. The horses turn their heads to him one by one, and blow and go back to their hay. The cat of the establishment, black with one white glove, supervises from the top of the corn bin, then retires to her nest in the spare blankets, professionally satisfied. Listen to a warm stable at night, one of the great sleeping sounds of every century that had one. Hay being ground, slow and wet and endless. The shift of a big patient foot in straw. A blanket buckle touching brick. The long shuddering sigh a horse gives when it settles a hip and parks itself for the night. The same sigh in this brick palace as in the cottonwood grove on the plains. The same sigh it has been since horses and people first agreed to keep the night in shifts. The coachman turns the gas to a glimmer, climbs to his supper, and the stable sinks into its fragrant half-sleep. 6 warm engines idling in the straw, snow ticking on the skylight. The cat's one white glove tucked under her chin. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And that includes, across the yard, 6 of the gentlest sleepers on the payroll, standing up in their dreams as their kind has always done. One lamp is still burning below stairs, in the housekeeper's sitting room, and it is worth looking in on our way up, because the woman under it is doing the thing that actually holds this palace together, and it is the same thing that has held every establishment we have ever kept a night in. She is keeping the accounts. Her room is the snuggest in the basement, red curtains, a good fire, a shelf of china her own, and her desk, where she sits in the lamplight with the day's books open. The housekeeper's books are the mansion's true anatomy. What came in at the area door today, from the fishmonger, the dairy, the grocer, the florist, and at what price, entered in her sloping steady hand. What was used, what was stored, the linen ledger, sheets and cloths in their hundreds, numbered, rotated, mended, retired. The cellar book, countersigned by the butler, the servant's wage book, the little book of the poor box, column by column. The enormous machinery of the house resolves under her pen into numbers that behave, and the sums come right, because under this roof they always come right, because she is the kind of woman under whom sums do not dare do otherwise. She is quiet aristocracy below stairs, senior to everyone but the butler, and equal to him by treaty. Her chatelaine of keys opens the linen room, the still room, the china closets, the stores. Maids are hired by her, trained by her, mothered and governed, and occasionally launched by her into better places with a reference in that same steady hand. The lady of the house, upstairs, decides what the house shall do. This woman decides how, and the two of them confer each morning like a sovereign and a first minister, with the fiction of rank fully maintained and the reality perfectly understood on both sides. Tonight's entries are few, a quiet Tuesday. She rules the last line, blots it, and sits a moment with her tea going cool, listening to her domain. The range banked and ticking down the corridor. The last maid's feet on the back stair, going up. The hall clock, faint through the floor, telling midnight to the marble upstairs. 30 souls, 60 rooms, and the whole thing balanced, fed, warmed, locked, and entered in the book. She has run this house through grander nights than this one, and likes these better. She winds her own little clock, banks her own small fire, and takes her candle up. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And the day itself is now archived, ruled off, and put away in a drawer that locks, until tomorrow makes its own new page. Before the basement sleeps entirely, one door more, because behind it winter itself has been hired as a servant, and we have seen this arrangement before in older forms, and the newest form deserves its look. The cold rooms open off the north end of the corridor, where the sun never reaches. First the larder, slate-shelved, wire-screened, stone-floored, holding tomorrow in its raw form, game hanging in feather and fur, a ham in its muslin, butter in scored golden blocks, eggs in their crocks, milk in tall cans, the pudding for Thursday, already tied in its cloth. Beside it, the dry stores behind the housekeeper's lock, sacks and chests and Japan tins, flour and sugar and coffee and rice, raisins and spices, a merchant ship's cargo in miniature, entered to the pound in the books we just watched being closed. And then the ice room, the modern marvel, its walls doubled and packed with sawdust, its great zinc-lined chests holding their cargo of Hudson River winter. The ice came down from the ice houses upstate, cut last February from the frozen river in 2-foot blocks by men with saws and horses, stored under sawdust through the summer, and delivered here by wagon, hoisted down the area all year long. On these shelves it keeps the fish firm, and the cream sweet, and the butter hard. And in July it will chill the champagne and freeze the ices for 400 guests. Winter, sold by the ton, doing summer duty. The scullery maid thinks nothing of it. Her grandmother would have crossed herself. A block of January, standing in a cellar in the dark, patiently being February and March and August. We have kept winter as a servant before, you and I. The Ice Age family's larder was the frozen ground itself, sealed with stones. The Plains camp hung its meat in the cold trees and dried it against time. The castle packed its snow into stone pits under straw. This zinc-can sawdust room is the same idea wearing city clothes. The oldest preservation there is, cold in a box, and it stands at the exact end of its dynasty tonight. Because in a very few years, machines will begin to make the cold on the spot, and the river ice trade, one of the great strange industries of the age, will melt out of the world almost without anyone noticing it go. But not yet. Tonight the blocks sit silent under their sawdust, sweating their slow drops into the drip pans, keeping tomorrow's breakfast honest. And the larder around them holds its provisions in the dark like a well-stocked ship's hold. And the house above them can sleep entirely unconcerned about the only question that ever really mattered to a winter household, which is whether there will be enough. There is. There is more than enough. There is, by any measure any of our other winters would recognize, a legend of enough. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And down in the cold rooms winter works the night shift, boxed and obedient, keeping the plenty fresh. Through the last hour of the household's evening, a quiet procession has been moving room to room, and now it finishes, and with it the day is truly over. So let us follow the end of it, because it is this house's version of the oldest ceremony we know. The fires are being put to bed. 14 fires burned in this house tonight. Now, one by one, they are banked or let die according to their station. The parlor maid works the show floor, drawing room, morning room, music room, raking each grate low, setting the guard, folding the room's warmth down for the night like linen. The dining room fire dies honorably behind its screen, its work done at dessert. The library fire, last of the public flames, is banked properly at 1, when the father finally surrenders his chapter, and the setter is evicted to his basket by custom, and goes with the air of a dog doing the family a favor. Upstairs the bedroom fires were laid, and lit at 9 by the housemaids round, so every family bedroom received its people already warm, coals chuckling behind brass fenders, warming pans having made their pass between the sheets in the older style the housekeeper still swears by, and the children secretly love. Now those fires too are guarded and lowered, small red gardens glowing behind wire, each one banked to last the coldest hours, each one a little sibling of the great furnace below, as the nightlight in the nursery is a little sibling of the stone lamp in the bone house. The same solution at every scale, fire wrapped carefully for the dark hours, warmth entrusted to ash. And below at 1:30, the furnace man makes his final descent in his slippers, as promised, and performs the master banking, the great one. The whole house's fire laid down for the night in one iron room, fresh coal in a deep even blanket, dampers eased to a breath, the red glare narrowed to a seam around the fire door, the organ note of the chimney dropped to a hum you feel in the stone floor more than here. He stands his customary minute, listening, an old man and a shut-iron giant in a whitewashed cellar at the bottom of a snowstorm, and then he climbs to his bed behind the kitchen, and the house is, at last, entirely banked. Count what has just happened, because it is lovely. 14 open fires and one great furnace, wrapped in ash and trusted to hold until morning, exactly as the coals were wrapped in a mammoth bone house, in a tipi, in a monastery kitchen, in a castle hall, in a lighthouse not yet built. The technology climbs, century over century, and the gesture never changes. Feed it, cover it, trust it, sleep. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and the warmth itself is asleep now too, in 15 small beds of ash, breathing slow, dreaming red. The family's own going up happened around us while the fires were banked, so let us climb after them now, up the great stair in the dimmed gaslight, and put the marble world to bed properly, door by door. The mother retired first, at 11, her maid brushing out her hair at the boudoir glass by the fire. The day's jewels returned to their velvet and locked away. The day's engagements reviewed and dismissed. She sleeps behind damask curtains in a carved bed from a French shadow, hot water bottle at her feet in defiance of the radiator, her notes for tomorrow on the night table, And she goes down the way commanders-in-chief of large households go down, promptly, having learned long ago that the house is competent to hold the night without her. The daughter's lamp burned longest, of course. 19, with a novel at the exact best part. She read in bed in the fire glow past midnight, one arm cold above the covers, and fell asleep in the middle of a sentence somewhere over the Alps, with the book tented on the counterpane, where her maid will find it in the morning and mark the place, as she always does, without being asked. The father came up from the library at 1, walked the upstairs corridor once in his dressing gown, an old habit he does not examine, looked in at the nursery door for exactly 8 seconds, counted the 3 small breathings there the way the Lakota mother counted hers, the way every parent in every century has run the same census, and went to his own room satisfied. His man laid out tomorrow before leaving him, the correct boots for snow, the correct coat, the small readiness of morning arranged like instruments before an operation. The last thing the father does every night of his life is wind his own watch, his father's watch, plain gold, older than the fortune, and set it on the nightstand where his hand knows to find it. And this small turnkey ritual, 20 seconds of an emperor of commerce screwing time up tight for the night, is the exact descendant of an old woman cutting one more mark on a mammoth tusk, though he would be startled to hear it. The day wound and recorded, the night permitted to begin, and along the corridor now, only nightlights and banked coals, doors shut on slow breathing, the tall clock in the hall below telling 2 to nobody, on the family floor of one of the grandest houses of the age, exactly the same state of affairs as along the north wall of a buffalo hide lodge. Everyone down, everyone warm, everyone counted. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. Upstairs now, it is simply and completely true. One flight remains above the family floor, and then another, narrower, and then the last, narrowest of all, uncarpeted, lit by one turned-down gas jet, and it ends under the slates, in the attic corridor, where the other half of the household is going to bed by candlelight, and we will climb it, because no honest night in this house ends anywhere else. The maids' rooms open off the corridor in a row, small rooms under the roof slope, 2 iron bedsteads apiece, a washstand, a deal chest, a strip of carpet, a text or a print on the wall, and each one holds tonight its pair of tired young women, kitchen maids, housemaids, the scullery maid youngest of all, brushing out hair, saying prayers, climbing into cold sheets that their own bodies must warm, at the top of a house, whose every other bed was warmed for its owner by someone in this corridor. It would be easy to make that sentence bitter, and the age itself will argue about it fiercely and should, but stand in the corridor a moment before judging the house, and listen to what the rooms actually sound like tonight. Low talk between the beds, the day being laughed over in whispers, the kitchen maid teaching the scullery maid, 14 and far from her village, the trick of warming your nightgown at the candle without setting yourself alight. Hush, like this. Someone's little clock ticking on a chest, someone reading a letter from home over again. The snow, very close overhead, hissing softly on the slates, and the chimney's warmth rising through the brick at the corridor's spine, so that the attic, for all its plainness, is never truly cold. The house's own banked heat climbing up through it all night like sap. These rooms are way stations, and mostly everyone in them knows it. The wages are small but real, and sent home. The table is the best most of them have ever eaten at. The training is a trade. Housemaids become housekeepers. Kitchen maids become cooks, and cooks, in this city in this age, become powers. The scullery maid falling asleep right now under the slates, With her feet on the flannel-wrapped brick the cook slipped her without comment, is at the bottom of a ladder that is, for all its steepness, actually a ladder. And in her dream, for what it is worth, she is already somewhere further up it. The candles go out along the corridor, one fan of shadow at a time. The last one burning is the head housemaid's, who reads a chapter nightly by right of rank, and then hers too. And the attic floor joins the house's sleep, and the census is complete at last, from cellar to slates. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. Everyone. It has taken until 2 in the morning, and it is now, from the furnace man behind the kitchen to the smallest maid under the roof, entirely, floor by floor, true. On the bedroom floor, at the corridor's quiet end, behind a door the housekeeper's chatelaine opens. The linen room keeps the softest inventory in the house, and a night walk that skipped it would miss the place where the house's comfort is actually warehoused. So turn the small key and breathe in. Lavender first and sun. That is the linen room's air, and it is manufactured, like everything here, deliberately. The room is shelved to the ceiling in cedar and whitewash, and on the shelves, in ruled and ticketed ranks, sleeps the household's cloth, sheets in their dozens of pairs, linen for the family, stout cotton for the staff, each set numbered in tiny cross-stitch and rotated through use and wash and rest like troops. Because linen, the housekeeper will tell you, lasts a generation if it is marched properly and 3 years if it is not. Pillow slips, bolster cases, blankets in camphor, eiderdowns bagged for the guest floor, tablecloths of double damask, folded to their old creases, some of them older than the house, darned invisibly at the corners by winter evenings of the housekeeper's own needle, towels in graded ranks, huckaback to Turkish, and between the piles, muslin bags of last summer's lavender, and the memory of every clothesline the linen has ever dried on, which is what that sunlight smell is, kept in the weave the way the wine cellar keeps its autumns. The linen room is the housekeeper's chapel, and her ledger of it is exact, and the maids are trained to its liturgy. This pile from the top, that pile to the wash, the third best cloth for Thursday, the best for the 14th. But at night, locked and dark and ranked, the room does its true work, which is simply to hold ready in quantity the material of comfort. Every bed in this house, from the masters to the scullery maids, will be stripped and remade out of this room on its appointed day. Every fevered forehead in the nursery's history has met a cool cloth off these shelves, and every guest and every new baby, and every last need the house has ever had of softness, has been supplied from this small, lavender-smelling fortress in the dark. The cat looks in past our ankles, considers the warm shelf by the chimney breast, weighs the housekeeper's known views on cats among linen, and withdraws with dignity, choosing valor. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and the very sheets they sleep in have their own dark barracks here, ranked, rested, lavendered, and ready, which is the kind of fact a house never mentions, and a night visitor never forgets. Above the family's floor lies a whole story of the house that is asleep, tonight, in a different way from all the rest, because nobody is in it, and a floor of empty bedrooms kept perfect in the dark has a stillness worth one slow walk on our way up through the sleeping vessel. 6 rooms open off the guest corridor, each with its own weather of chintz or damask, each kept, in the housekeeper's phrase, 5 minutes from ready. Beds made up under dust sheets, fires laid dry in the grates, wanting only a match, candles in the sticks, new soap in the dishes, blotters and inkstands square on the writing tables, the eiderdowns from the linen room waiting bagged in the presses. A maid opens each room to air on Mondays, dusts it Thursdays, and closes it again on its silence. And between those visits, the rooms simply stand, curtained and blind, holding their readiness the way the ballroom holds its music, at the bottom of still water. They are not empty of history, only of guests. This one, nearest the stair, is called the senator's room below stairs, after a regular whose snore, the second footman maintains, once set the fire irons ringing. The blue room held a bride the morning of the wedding 2 years ago, and the housemaids still speak of the flowers. The small south room, warmest, is the grandmother's when she comes at Christmas, 10 days hence, and has already begun, by some prearrangement between the housekeeper and the calendar, to smell faintly of her lavender water. Rooms keep their people the way gloves keep hands, loosely, patiently, in outline. Tonight the whole floor lies dark along its corridor. 6 made beds with no breathing in them. 6 laid fires with no flame. The snow ticking at 6 curtained windows for no listener. And the effect, walking it softly at 3 in the morning, is not loneliness at all. It is anticipation at rest. The house is keeping room. That is what a guest floor is. Made beds held against arrivals not yet announced. Hospitality banked like the fires. And a house that keeps room, our other winters would all agree, is a house that expects the future and means it well. At Christmas, this corridor will be lamplit and loud, trunks and hat boxes and cousins. The rooms know it in their way. They can wait. Waiting kept is half of welcome. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And one floor of it sleeps emptiest and most patiently of all, made up, laid ready, 5 minutes from morning, 10 days from Christmas, holding room. There is a way up onto the roof, through the trapdoor at the attic stairs head, and on this one night we will take it, you and I, weightless and warm as we are, because the house has shown us every floor of itself but its hat, and the view from the hat, in the deep of the snowfall, is the whole city asleep. Come up among the chimney stacks. The roof is a steep slate country, white quilted now, ridged and valid, walled at the front by the stone balustrade, and planted everywhere with chimneys, tall brick companies of them, 15 flues and more, each one capped and potted, each one breathing. That is the thing you learn on a winter roof that you can learn nowhere else in the house. The whole building breathes upward. Stand among the stacks and you can hear it. A low organ chord of drafts, 14 banked fires and the great furnace below all exhaling their slow, warm columns into the cold, the smoke rising pale through the falling snow, until the house wears its breath in standing plumes like the lodges of the plains camp, like the bone house on its rise, one warm thing exhaling in the cold, the oldest signature there is, and beyond the balustrade the city, roof upon white roof, block upon block, chimney plume upon chimney plume, south as far as the eye can reach, 10,000 banked fires breathing upward into the clearing night, the whole island one great camp of kept warmth under the breaking clouds. The park lies north, a white sea with lamps at its hem. The rivers show as dark margins east and west, with the fairy lights crossing late. Here and there a church spire stands up black among the roofs, and far downtown the tall new office buildings, 12 stories, 14, the first of their unimaginable kind, lift their lit crowns like lighthouses of the coming century. The snow has made the whole roaring city one quiet thing, and from up here you can finally see what it is at night, which is what every settlement we have ever kept a night over has been. A gathering of fires, banked against the dark, breathing together. The snow comes down steadily over all of it, fine and dry now, unhurried. Somewhere above the clouds stand the stars, hard and clean, the same stars exactly. You understand, the very same that stood over the smoke hole of the bone house, over the tippies' crossed poles, over the lighthouse yet to come. The snow hides them tonight, but it cannot argue with them. The snow on the slates squeaks under nobody's feet. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And from the roof you can watch the keeping itself rise past you into the stars, plume by patient plume, all night, from every home on the island at once. Before we descend to the deepest hour, the census of this house has 4 names still unentered, none of them on the wage book, all of them on duty, and no night in any of our worlds has ever been complete without its animals, so let us count them in. The setter sleeps in his basket by the library door, exiled nightly from the hearthrug at banking time, and bearing it nobly. He is 7, feathered like a russet banner. He is useless at his ancestral trade and supreme at his actual one, which is the accompaniment of this family through its days. He has spent the evening as furniture beside the father's chair, and will spend tomorrow escorting the children to the park fort, with the gravity of a staff officer attached to a junior command. Now he dreams, feet paddling, of birds he has never once brought down, and each of his long sighs is the sound a house makes when it is sure of itself. Dogs are barometers. A nervous house makes a nervous dog. This one sleeps like a senator after dinner. The cat we have met all night, tortoiseshell, self-employed, walking her freeholds. The mice of the house are her department, and her department is in excellent order, which is to say the mice exist, in modest numbers, behind the larder walls, in the horsehair of the attic, conducting their small commissary raids along runways older than the electric wires that now share the walls with them, and she taxes them just heavily enough to keep the ancient balance. No one hired her grandmother's grandmother, and no one could dismiss her now. She came with the bricks, effectively, as her kind came with the first granaries 10,000 years ago, the longest-running labor contract our species has, paid in warmth and license, honored on both sides tonight as every night. Across the yard the 6 horses drowse in their straw, whom we have visited, and above them the coachman's cat, the black one with the white glove, keeps the stable's parallel arrangement, and in the nursery, it should be entered in the record, there sleeps in the crook of the baby's arm a small worn flannel elephant, boot-button-eyed, veteran of 2 teething campaigns, and if he is not strictly an animal he is certainly on duty, and no honest census of the guardians of this house at night could leave him out, standing his post as he does at the exact center of the whole enterprise, in the smallest, warmest bed of all. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, dog and cat and horses and elephant and all, each at their post, each keeping their immemorial side of their immemorial bargains, in the one shared dark. While the furnace holds its seam in the cellar, spare one drowsy chapter for the black stone it is eating, because everything warm in this house tonight was once inside a mountain, and the road it traveled to this cellar is one of the great slow supply lines of the age, and tracing a supply line in the dark, as we learned on other nights with grain barges and wool ships, is one of the sleepiest good stories there is. The coal in that dune began the winter 400 miles away, in the anthracite valleys of Pennsylvania, hard coal country, where it was cut from seams deep under the ridges and rattled down the breakers, those vast timber buildings like wooden mountains themselves, where it was broken and washed and sorted by size, egg and stove and chestnut, sliding down its chutes in a black river, from the breakers to the railroad, hopper car after hopper car, whole trains of nothing but coal, rolling east through the winter nights over the rivers, down the long grades, to the tidewater yards across the harbor from this island, where it went aboard barges, riding low and patient in the tug-drawn strings we might have heard tonight, saying their soft words to the fog, from the barge to the coal yard, from the yard to the wagon, and so at last, one morning this week, to this very curb where the wagon backed and tipped, and the coal went roaring down the sidewalk chute into the cellar in a black cataract, dust and thunder for 10 minutes, a sound the whole street knows in winter, and the children upstairs pressed to the window to watch, because a coal delivery is excellent theater when you are 5. And then the cover clanged back into the sidewalk, and the road ended, and the mountain's peace lay quiet in the dark under the house. Next stop the firebox. Last stop the warm air now breathing from the nursery register onto a nightlight's flame. Count the hands, as we have counted hands on other nights in other centuries. The miners in the deep seams, the breaker boys at the chutes, the brakemen on the winter trains, the tug crews and the bargemen, the yard men and the wagon men and the furnace man in his slippers, a chain of perhaps 100 strangers, none of whom will ever see this house, all of whom are keeping its baby warm tonight. Every world we have wintered in was warmed by such a chain, hands passing fire's food along, from the gatherers of deadfall cottonwood to this iron republic of rails and barges. The chains grow longer, century by century. The gift at the end of them stays exactly the same size. One warm room, one sleeping child. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And the warmth itself came 400 miles by breaker, rail, barge, and wagon to be here, and lies now in the cellar dark, a piece of a Pennsylvania mountain, patiently becoming morning heat. Across the avenue beyond the low stone wall lies the family's other estate, 800 acres of it, shared with the whole city, and before the night ends we should cross to it, weightless in the falling snow, because the park after midnight in deep winter is the island's best kept quiet, and it belongs to nobody, which means at this hour to us. The wall passes, and the city drops away with a completeness that still surprises the men who planned it. And they planned exactly this: meadow and wood, white and rolling, the drives curving empty under their snow-hooded lamps, the bare elms of the mall standing in their long double aisle like the columns of a roofless cathedral, holding snow along every branch. The bridges arch their dark stone over paths nobody will walk till morning. The reservoir spreads north, a frozen inland sea behind its embankment, wind-swept and dim under the snowlight, with the city's gaslight glowing at its rim like a distant shore. The park is not empty. It keeps its own winter census. The sheep, the actual sheep of the sheep meadow, 200 of them, are folded warm in their stone fold by the meadow's edge, a shepherd's establishment in the middle of the metropolis, wool and lanolin and slow breathing, as deep asleep as any flock on any down in England. The swans and ducks are tucked on the unfrozen lee of their pond, where the keepers break the ice. Owls hunt the ramble, which is why the ramble's mice respect the hour. A fox, descendant of stowaways and escapees, crosses the white meadow below the fold in a neat and businesslike line, the same line, the very same trot, that his cousin drew across a creek bottom in the Plains Camps Valley, and his elder cousin drew past a bone house on the steppe, because the fox's night errand has not changed one particle in 25,000 years, and there is a deep comfort in that, meeting it again here, between a boathouse and a ball field under gaslit clouds, and the snow fort stands where the children built it on the slope by the pond, towers slightly slumped, walls holding, garrison asleep 200 yards east behind a nightlight, dreaming it taller. The night walks past it without malice. The snow goes on falling, fine and unhurried. The park lies still from wall to wall, 800 acres of kept country breathing quietly in the middle of the Iron City. The age's own admission, written in meadow and elm, that what the heart requires at the center of all its roaring is a large, green, patient, sleeping thing. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And across the avenue their other garden sleeps too, sheep and swans and fox and fort, under the falling snow till morning. Outside, while the house sleeps, the city is doing its own version of the night. And from the front steps, where we may stand a minute in the falling snow without feeling it, the small hours of the avenue are worth watching, because a great city not quite sleeping is one of the newest sights on earth. And this is its first golden age. The snow has won the argument with the traffic. The avenue lies white and unmarked from curb to curb, 4 inches deep and still filling, and the gas globes down the park side burn, each in its own swirling halo. A mile of soft golden moons hung in the falling white. The great houses stand dark above their areaways, cornices frosted, all their evenings extinguished, house after house after house, asleep in a rank like ships of the line at anchor. Across the avenue the park is a white sea past a low stone wall, its bare elms sketched in snow, its lamps fewer and farther, its silence deeper than the city has any other right to. But the city is never wholly down, and its night watch moves through the whiteness in ones. A policeman on the beat, caped and helmeted, walks the park wall southward at the regulation pace, leaving the night's straightest line of footprints, trying the gates as he goes, as much a part of the small hours as the lamps. At the corner 2 blocks down, a cab waits at the all-night stand by the hotel, horse blanketed to the ears, driver a mound of rugs, both of them asleep at their post with one ear on duty. An arrangement horses invented long ago that men have merely joined. A milk sleigh will pass at 4. A late doctor's brougham may pass sooner. Otherwise the avenue belongs to the snow, and to the wind off the park arranging it, and to the small hushed hiss of the gas flames burning their all-night shift inside the glass. Listen to the city under all of it, not silence, but a floor of sound so low and constant the day never lets you hear it. The distant heartbeat of a late train across the river, a tug somewhere down the harbor, miles off, saying one soft word to the fog, the deep almost hum of 100,000 chimneys drawing at once. This is the sound the night workers know, the policemen and the cabmen and the stokers and the nurses, the low engine idle of the enormous city holding itself banked, like its own furnaces, until morning. Down at the corner, the all-night druggist's globe burns green and gold behind its frosted glass, the one lit shop window in the whole white mile, kept for the doctor's midnight errands and the nurse's sudden needs, and its glow on the snow is one of the city's kindest sights. A lamp lit purely on the chance of someone needing it. Nobody needs it tonight. It burns anyway. That is the whole arrangement. And there is something of every night watchman we have ever walked with in that green globe, from the porter of the library of Alexandria to the boy under the cottonwood. The light kept not because trouble is expected, but so that trouble, if it comes, will find someone already awake. The snow thickens a moment, softening even that. The policeman's footprints are already filling behind him. Behind us the house stands dark and warm over its sleeping 30. No lit pane anywhere now. Only the faint glow at the area grills where the banked kitchen holds its warmth. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And the whole avenue could say the same tonight, house by darkened house. A mile of banked fires and wound clocks and even breathing, holding station in the snow. 3 o'clock, and the tall clock tells it to the empty hall. And we will take our accustomed privilege now. The night watchman's walk, softly, up through the whole sleeping vessel from keel to topsail, because this is the hour when a house is most itself. And this house at 3 is a kind of music. Begin in the cellar. The furnace holds its low red seam behind the fire door, hum gone subterranean, the coal dune black and patient, the whole under vault warm and faintly ticking. Up one flight, the basement corridor sleeps in its blue gas bead, kitchen banked, copper glinting once as we pass. The cat of the house, unofficial, tortoiseshell, making her own rounds along the larder sills with an air of carrying keys. The butler's door is shut, the silver dreaming in its iron wardrobe beside his sleep. Up through the baize door, and the change comes again, the hush of carpets and wax, the hall in firelight-colored darkness, the clock's talk enormous and gentle, the stair curving up into shadow. The drawing rooms stand at rest under their guards and screens, furniture sheeted in dimness, the flowers on the hall table breathing their faint greenhouse breath into the dark. In the library, the last coals tick behind the fender, and the books stand their shelved thousands in perfect silence, which is, if you think of it, the book's natural state, patience bound in calf, outlasting every reader kindly. The family floor, and here the house's music is simplest. 6 doors, 6 weathers of sleep. The deep even trade winds of the father, the mother's stiller air, the daughter with her book still tented somewhere over the Alps, the nursery's 3 small quick breathings, with the night light standing guard in its saucer, and the nurse's steady watchfulness one wall away, on duty even asleep, the profession's oldest trick. Radiator warmth breathes from the registers. A coal shifts in a grate like a sleeper turning. The snow touches the windows all along the front with its sound, just below sound, and the attic under the slates, where the breathing is youngest and deepest. Day labor sleep, dreamless or homeward dreaming. The snow closest overhead here and the chimney spine warmest. The house folding its plainest rooms nearest its own heat, whatever the age thinks it believes about such things. Stand at the top landing and hear it whole. 30 sleepers, 14 ash-wrapped fires, 30 ticking clocks, 1 furnace, 1 cat on patrol, 1 snowstorm on the roof, 1 house. It breathes. It genuinely breathes, joists and pipes and lungs together, the way the bone house breathed, the way the lodge breathed. A moored thing riding the night at anchor, going nowhere, keeping everyone. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. And at 3 in the morning, you can stand in the middle of the sentence and hear every word of it being true at once. Of all the servants in this house, the strangest and most faithful is invisible, and it works the night through inside the walls themselves. So before the deepest hour, let us pay it 1 chapter, the way we have always paid our respects to the keepers of the fire. It is the warmth itself, in transit. All night, while every human hand is still, the house's heat is moving. In the cellar, the banked furnace breathes its slow, warm air up through the ducts, and the ducts thread the house's bones like veins. Rising through walls, the sleepers' beds are pushed against, whispering warm at the brass registers in nursery and corridor. From the boiler, the hot water climbs its risers to the radiators, and the radiators along the halls tick and knock and sigh at long intervals, iron cooling and calling for more, the pipes answering with their soft water sounds. A circulation, literally a circulation, the house's own warm current making its rounds while the house sleeps. Put your hand to the wall by the back stair and you can feel it. The chimney spine, faintly warm from cellar to slates. 14 banked fires worth of patience, rising through the brick in no hurry at all. The bricks themselves are the night's quiet heroes. They and the stone and the sawdust and the sheer packed mass of the house. Because they hold what the fires bank into them, they pay it back out through the small hours, evenly, a warmth annuity, so that at 4 in the morning, coldest of hours, deepest of the storm, the nursery register still breathes gently on the nightlight's flame and makes it lean. We have watched this office held by every kind of keeper, a girl of 15 sleeping beside her coals, with one ear open, a Lakota mother banking cottonwood under ash, a furnace man's 2 precise movements at a damper. Tonight the office is held mostly by matter itself, by iron and brick and water doing their slow physics in the dark, and it is easy to say that something homely has been lost in the promotion, and the elders of this age do say it, by their bedroom fires, which they keep lit against the radiators on principle, but stand in the walls' faint warmth and be fair to the new servant. It does not sleep, does not sicken, asks no wages, and holds the smallest maid's attic exactly as faithfully as the master's chamber. Of all the fine democratic speeches made in this republic in this decade, the central heating is quietly making the truest one, up through the walls, all night, every night. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. Tonight the first half of the refrain has a workforce of its own, and this is its shift, and it is keeping it. And then the house arrives where every one of our nights arrives, at the hour with no neighbors, the bottom of the vault, and even this loud young city cannot prevent it, and does not want to. Outside the snow is ending. The storm has spent its cargo somewhere past 4, and the last flakes come down singly, absently, like afterthoughts. The sky is breaking open over the park in rags of black and sudden stars. The cold deepens now the clouds are going, taking its customary last turn of the screw, and the snow on the avenue squeaks under the policeman's boots at the far end of his beat, the loneliest and most peaceful sound on the island. The gas moons burn on down the White Mile. Nothing else moves at all. Inside, the house is at the exact center of its rest. The clocks tick toward 5 without urgency, 30 tempos one night. The fires are far down in their ash, warm cores only, dreaming red at the hearth the way embers have dreamed in every hearth we have ever sat beside. The furnace seam glows its lowest. The radiators have gone silent, holding, and the breathing, floor above floor, has found the single settled communal rhythm that every household of every age finds at this 1 hour. Cellar to slates, master to scullery maid, the sound of a house down at the very bottom of the night's arc, where sleep is deepest and morning is nearest, and neither fact has yet occurred to anyone. Stand once more at the stairs turning, in the clock-tick dark, and take the lesson this hour has taught us in every century we have kept it. This stillness is not absence. It is the fullest hour the house owns. The whole thundering enterprise upstairs and down, the fortune and the wages, the copper and the silver, the coal and the ice and the linen and the ledgers, all of it was at bottom for this. 30 people warm and safe in one stone, keep in a snowstorm, sleeping. The mansion is only the largest lodge we have wintered in. The furnace is only the biggest banked fire. The refrain is only the oldest sentence there is, wearing its grandest clothes. Somewhere in this hour, if you listen closely, the house does its smallest kindnesses unwitnessed. A radiator gives one soft knock in the nursery and settles, having topped up the warmth around the nightlight. The furnace seam brightens a shade as a draft shifts, and dims again, self-corrected. A coal in the library, grate slumps into the ash with a sound like a word ending. The cat passes the pantry door on velvet accounting, and in the front hall, the flowers from the glass garden stand in the dark, keeping their small green breath going. Tomorrow's freshness already on order, already growing, 60 feet below the sleeping mother who will arrange it. Nothing needs anyone. That is the deepest hour's whole message, delivered in knocks and slumps and silence. The keeping has passed entirely into faithful things, and the faithful things are keeping it. The tall clock gathers itself and tells 5, softly up the stairwell, to no one awake. The bronze rolls away down the corridors and dies in the carpets, and the house does not stir. It has heard 5 o'clock 4,000 times. It knows what comes next, and it is in no hurry, and neither are we. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and the deepest hour passes over the slate roof like a great slow wing, and does no harm at all, and moves on west over the river toward the sleeping rest of the country. And in the last full hour of the dark, the sleepers dream, all 30 of them, and by our old habit we will wander our way once around the house before morning, gently, door by door, since wandering is a lullaby and no one here can correct us. The children dream close to the surface, as ever, as everywhere. The 8-year-old is somewhere in the park's snow fort, which in the dream has towers and flies a flag, and is defended with distinction. The 5-year-old chases the rocking horse, which has finally, as it was always going to, come alive. The baby dreams of nothing yet, or of everything. Warmth and the button and the nurse's heartbeat, riding the night like a small boat at a good mooring. The nurse herself dreams of her sister's kitchen in the old country, turf smoke and rain on the window, and is by her face in the nightlight's glow, glad to be there and glad it is not far. The daughter dreams over the Alps, of course, the novel finishing itself in her sleep, grander than its author managed. The mother dreams her dinner party a fortnight out, seats it, receipts it, hears a chair fill itself with the wrong laugh and corrects the placement without waking. A commander's sleep, work and rest in one bed. The father in his is nowhere near the market. He is up the Hudson at the old place in summer at the oars of a boat, with applewood on a fire somewhere and his own father's watch ticking in a coat on the bank. And whatever the biographers will one day say of him, that is where he goes at night, and it is worth something. Below stairs, the cook dreams in menus, saluting and revising. The butler dreams the silver counted right, and counts it once more anyway, professionally, in his sleep. The housekeeper dreams in ruled columns that sum. The furnace man dreams of red seams and good draught, his 40 years of fires all banked and holding, every one. And the scullery maid at the top of the house at the bottom of the ladder dreams of home a little, and of the cook's kitchen a little, and of a far-off kitchen of her own, white and warm, where the copper on the wall is hers, and in the dream she is not hurrying, and someone else is doing the pans. The horses dream standing, 6 warm engines in the straw across the yard. The setter dreams in the basket by the library door, feet paddling after dream birds. The cat does not dream, or does not admit it. Say the house itself dreams, joists and marble and slates of its own summer, windows open on the avenue, awnings out, children on the stair. Say the whole white city dreams, block by snowbound block, one enormous communal winter dream, patient and kind, with morning at the end of it. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps, and behind 30 closed doors 30 private worlds turn quietly, safe inside the one shared dark, cellar to slates, exactly as it was in the bone house, exactly as it always is. At 5:30, at the top of the house, a small alarm clock goes off under a pillow where a practiced hand smothers it in 1 second flat, and the newest, youngest, sleepiest member of the household sits up in the dark under the slates, because in this palace, as in every establishment we have ever kept a night in, Somebody must be the first one up, and it is her. The scullery made dresses fast in the cold by candle, wool stockings, print dress, apron cap, breath showing faintly in the attic air, and goes down the back stair with her candle guttering. 5 flights past the sleeping corridors, through the baize doors padded thump, into the basement dark, where the banked range waits for her like a black horse at a mounting block. And here, at the bottom of the great dark house, at the bottom of the whole social pyramid of the age, the first fire of the new day is made, and watch it made, because the gesture is the one we have watched at every dawn of every night we have kept together, and it has never once changed hands without changing worlds. She opens the dampers, she rakes the gray ash through, and the night's kept coals come up glowing underneath. The range's banked heart, alive, exactly as the furnace man left his giant, exactly as the firekeeper's morning coals waited in a bone house so far upstream of this kitchen that the number is only weather. She feeds the glow its kindling, then its coal. The draft catches with its low morning roar, the firebox door clangs, and the range is away, and the day officially, biologically, irreversibly has begun. Then the kettle, biggest first, onto the fastest plate. The kitchen fills slowly with warmth and the smell of new fire, and she works out from the range in the candle and gaslight, sanding and scrubbing the table, laying the staff breakfast, hauling the first scuttle, her hands doing the round they now know without her, while above her 5 floors of sleepers turn over in their last hour, not one of them aware that their morning has already been lit below their feet by a 14-year-old singing almost silently to herself in a warming kitchen. Outside the area window, the sky is still dark, but the milk sleigh's bells come chiming faintly down the avenue on schedule, first traffic of the day, and stop, and the cans come clanking gently down the area steps to her door. The city's breakfast arriving through the snow. She takes them in, signs nothing, knows the milkman's boy by name, allows him 1 warm minute at her new fire, which is the first hospitality of the house's day, dispensed at its lowest door, an hour before its owner's wake, and the milk itself has had a night not unlike the coals, worth 1 sleepy sentence as it comes in from the cold, milked in the dark of a Westchester barn yesterday evening, by lantern light, into ringing pails, carried cool through the night in railway cans on the milk train, that slow, patient train that runs while the world sleeps, stopping at every crossroads platform for its cans, rolling down the Hudson shore through the snow with its 1 lamp burning, bottled and loaded and sleighed up the white avenue before 5, and now standing in her larder, still tasting faintly of winter barns, ready to be the nursery's breakfast. The city drinks the countryside every morning before it wakes, and never once thinks of the lantern in the barn. But tonight, for once, somebody has thought of it and wished that far barn and its milker well. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps except one now who is paid least and rises first, and who has just restarted the entire world single-handed, as her kind does every morning everywhere, and has since fire was first kept. And so at last, at the far end of the great vault of the night, the hour before dawn comes to the avenue. It comes the way it has come to every world we have kept a night in, quietly from the east, without any hurry at all, and not even this city, which will hurry at everything else all day, has ever found a way to hurry this. It comes first as a loosening over the park. The sky beyond the bare elms, black all night, turns some color that is not yet a color. The stars step back. The last of the storm's clouds burn slowly rose at their eastern edges, and the snow on the avenue begins to remember that it is white. The gas moons down the park side grow modest in the growing gray, their all-night shift ending, and the lamplighter will come with his pole for the survivors by and by, walking his morning route in reverse. The city takes up its day the way an orchestra tunes, one instrument at a time, the milk sleighs chiming their rounds, a first ferry hooting far off on the gray river, the rumble of the earliest L train across town, faint as a memory, areaway doors opening down the whole white mile, ash cans out, snow shovels beginning their first scrape and ring, kitchen chimneys pushing up their new smoke, house after house after house, until the avenue's whole rank of sleeping ships is lazily under steam again. The park emerges tree by tree. The snow fort in it has kept the night well and awaits its garrison. And in our house, the day comes up the stairs in its proper order, which is to say from below. The kitchen is bright and roaring now. The cook down at 6 to her hot range and her singing scullery maid, breakfast in its first movements. The housemaids move through the dim show floors, opening shutters on the snow light, raking and laying and lighting the day's first grates. Warmth reborn room by room exactly where it was banked. The furnace man is at his giant, dampers wide, the seam become a blaze, the registers breathing stronger up through the waking walls. The butler unbolts the front door and looks out at the white avenue with a proprietary eye, as if the snow, too, had been ordered in good time and delivered correctly. And high in the nursery, the little Swiss clock with the painted birds ticks toward 7, when 3 small sleepers will surface famished, and the whole warm machine of the house will be entirely, roaringly awake and glad of itself. But not quite yet. For a little while longer the family floors lie still in the gray-gold light, curtained, breathing slow, the last and softest sleep of the night, the kind you get to keep only because someone downstairs is already keeping the morning for you. The tall clock in the hall tells 6 to the empty marble, and the bronze rolls away, and above it 30 lives hang in the last sweet minutes of the dark, complete, rested, carried the whole way across. The long night is folding itself away westward now, over the river, over the sleeping country, complete. The lamps and the ledgers, the 2 suppers, the locked doors and the wound clocks, the banked furnace and the 14 ash-wrapped fires, the snow on the glass garden, the dreams from cellar to slates, all of it has done what nights are for. It rested its people, every single one, and set them down safe in sight of morning. The house keeps its warmth, and everyone in it sleeps. It was true at midnight, and it was true at 3, and it is true now at the edge of morning, in the last minutes it can be. And when it stops being true in a little while, it will only be because morning has come gently, on time, with milk bells and new fires and snow light on the ceilings, which is the one correct way for the sentence to end. Let it be true for you as well, whatever the night holds where you are. May your house keep its warmth, and may everyone in it sleep deeply, safely, all the way to a gentle morning. Asleep now. This was worlds before morning. Good night.